to welcome the board. I understand that the board chairperson is not present, but the board members are present, led by Dr. Nell. You are welcome. The only problems that we have, which I think is an apology, that is coming from the department. The department has just been briefed that is still stuck in a meeting with the scoper, and they are still there. As soon as they finish, they will join us. And on those bases, we have to continue with our meeting. And as you normally, the chairperson of the select committee, since this is a joint session, the select committee chairperson will take the question session and the engagement until at the end. Mine is just to ask Denel to come forward and make the presentation. Thereafter, it will be taken over by my colleague, Honorable Matibi. Denel, I don't know whether it's you, CEO, who will be making a presentation. I assume that the CEO will be making that presentation. But firstly, yes, as we usually do, we would like the board member, if there is any board member who has been given that particular responsibility, to say a few words and then give over to the CEO to make its presentation. I thank you.
Chairperson, good afternoon. Donnie the Tway. I think we can, with your permission, sir, we can go right into the presentation, if this is okay.
Yes, go ahead, CEO.
Thank you, sir. So again, good afternoon. It's nice to have an opportunity to update the committee on the status of the DENEL turnaround program, and we're going to present today, Chair. I hope you can hear me okay. Firstly, the strategic relevance of DENEL, so just a reminder on that. Then a brief discussion about the DENEL turnaround strategy, what the main pillars are, and the approach in the turnaround strategy. Then we want to talk about a new DENEL. So, Honourable Chair, honourable members of the committee, we want to talk about the future state of DENEL, what our vision is for the next 5 years in the corporate and business plan period. We want to talk a little bit about the risk profile of the organisation in terms of risk to future sustainability. We want to reflect on the key achievements since the appointment of the current board on April 2018, and management soon after that. We want to give a bit of an update on revenue opportunities. So we have quite a number of significant opportunities in the pipeline. And then lastly, Honourable Chair, we want to give the committee an update on the utilisation of the recapitalisation amount, 1.8 billion, as you know, that we have received in last year of August. So I hope it covers your expectations. There's around 22 slides. I will not go into all the details, but I think, as always, we will have an opportunity to ask questions in the end and after the presentation. So firstly, if I go to the strategic relevance of DENEL, so the next one, please, William. So, Chair, honourable committee members, just a reminder, the strategic mandate and role of DENEL is defined in the Defence Review, which is a document from 2015. And in that, the main mandate is defined as DENEL must take custodianship of the assigned sovereign and or strategic defence capabilities, technologies and abilities, inclusive of those that may be at risk and the loss thereof would threaten South Africa's required defence capability. The second one is we need to design, develop, manufacture and support, so the full life cycle of any product of important capabilities which may not be commercially viable. And I think that's an important distinction. So sometimes there's a strategic consideration over a commercial consideration. Then secondly, Chair, there's the National Defence Industry Council has identified a number of issues that, based on our liquidity challenges, that might have potential significant impact. And those impact is compromising South Africa's national security. The collapsing of the DENEL will probably lead to the collapsing of the entire South African defence industry. I think today there's an estimated 16,000 people working in the South African defence industry, and it will also expose South Africa to a mass exodus of skilled personnel with sensitive intellectual property in the defence domain to countries that are potentially not necessarily aligned with our national interest. And lastly, a loss of critical defence capabilities, including both sovereign and strategic capabilities. So just a reflection on why DENEL, the mandate, and the strategic relevance of the organization, Chair. If we go then to the DENEL turnaround strategy, Chair. The next one, please, William. So just a reminder, we've presented this before, but Honourable Chair and Honourable...
Hello.
Question?
Chair.
Okay. Hello.
Yes, Chair, the screen in front of me is not moving. It's still on presentation structure. Can you get your team to move with the presenter as he goes along?
Okay.
Ma'am, it's displaying correctly on our side. So we're currently on the slide with turnaround strategy number 6.
Is the one that talk about secure funding, improve program delivery?
Yes.
Are we all?
No, my screen is still showing presentation structure. So he's showing the table of contents, basically. And he's already done with number 1, which is the strategic relevance of DENEL. He's now on number 2.
Okay, Honourable Member. Just please try to get somebody to assist you, because on my side, and I assume all others are having the same page where we are. If there is a technical problem, they can disang and other people, and the IT help, Honourable Member. Is it Chabalala?
No, it's Umpile.
Who's that member?
I'm far from Chabalala. I don't know what is Chabalala. My name is Umpile.
Who are you, Honourable Member?
Where is my name?
Oh, okay. Okay, I think you have a technical problem there with yourself.
No, Chair, it's just freezing. I think it's freezing. Chair?
Okay.
I think it's just freezing.
Morning, Chair. This is Montlasa, the Chair of DENEL. Sometimes Microsoft Teams is so delayed when you change slides that if you wait a few minutes, that slide comes through, and I've never seen a solution to it, but it just gets so delayed in switching the slides that maybe as we go along, the slides will keep coming slowly.
Okay.
But maybe we should email everybody the presentation, which would help.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Honorable members, let's be mindful that we are on Microsoft, and we might have those technical problems. Thank you. Continue, CEO.
Thank you, Chair. Then I continue, and we are on slide 6, which is the summary of the turnaround strategy for DENEL, Honourable Chair. So the pillars of the turnaround strategy, Chair and Honourable members, is to secure the funding. We need to expedite the turnaround plan. It is about improving our program delivery precision, our operational efficiency. Today, we realize that we need a lot to improve in terms of delivery precision, in terms of performance culture in the organization. We've made some progress, but still a lot to do in terms of our program delivery performance. Chair, we want to improve our order intake. We want to improve our governance. And here, just briefly, we have done a lot of good work in terms of improved governance. It's both in terms of the perspective of investigations and also in terms of improving our internal controls, in terms of, for example, supply chain policy, etc. We want to drive cost reduction, and I come back to some comments on that in the slides to follow, Chair. We want to achieve the reset of Hoefyster and to execute the program. We've made good progress over the last little bit more than a year on Hoefyster in terms of technical progress, but still a lot of work to do to reset and renegotiate the way forward. We want to deliver on our strategic partnerships and disposal of non-core assets. And also here, Honourable Chair, I will come back with some feedback on what we have done and what is the next actions on that. We want to ensure alignment between the Department of Defence, Arms Corps, and also, of course, DPE and National Treasury. We want to improve the DENEL reputation and stakeholder relationships. And lastly, we want to deepen the leadership capacity, skills retention, and transformation of the organisation, Chair. The next one, please. Next one, please.
I think we have got another technical problem.
Is it, Chair, can you hear me okay again?
Disturbing noise. There was a disturbing noise, CO. You'll have to bear in mind and start where you started disappearing.
Yes, Chair. I heard that. So we're going to slide number 8, Chair, with your permission. This is about the rationale for a DENEL, a new DENEL, and reflecting back. So on these slides, it's a high-level summary of our historical revenue. So you can see the trend from 2013. We grew from around 4 billion to 8.2 in 2016, and then we saw quite a decline in terms of revenue since 2016. On the right-hand side, you can see our updated corporate plan, business plan, in terms of future projections, Chair. And on the left bottom side, you can see the grey and orange or yellow. It shows a decline in terms of local order intake and local revenue from Arms Corps. So you can see that in terms of the total Arms Corps spending, we are around 25-30%. Through the last years of local spending, and there's quite a decline in terms of the absolute number in terms of revenue to Arms Corps. So the conclusions here, just briefly, Chair, is we're seeing a decline in local budget and decline in defence spending. So Arms Corps has reduced from over 40%. We see a non-alignment and expectations from key stakeholders, and as I mentioned before, we're actively working on that alignment to improve. We see an unsustainable cost structure versus revenue. So today our typical employment cost is around 144 million a month. So we can't sustain that on a revenue level of around 2.6, 2.8. So we need to actively work with the cost base, and we're doing that. We see an unsustainable debt situation, Chair. Just to remind the committee again, DENEL is financed on a medium-term note program on the back of a government guarantee to the value of around 3.4 billion, and the interest burden on that is quite significant on the organisation. We already spoke about poor program management as a key area of improvement. Poor working capital is a challenge for us in terms of high inventory levels, debtors, and also our cash situation remains challenging, Chair. Lack of appropriate commercial skills. So here we need to train our program managers and our managers to be more commercially inclined, more focused on improved contract management skills, etc. And then also the relationship with SCPs and progress on SCPs. We have to improve on that. The next one, please, William. Right, Chair, honourable committee members. On this slide is a summary of the DENEL current status, and also in terms of our roadmap for the corporate plan period. So just to reflect on the, if we go from left to right and follow the flow of the road, In 2018, 2019, when the new board came on board and the new management, we found a situation where we were looking at finding all the necessary information and facts in the business. Initially, it was very difficult to get information that we could trust and believe. Then followed an assessment phase, and the conclusion in that period was we're dealing with a fragmented, defocused organization. The organization is trying to be everything to everyone, so there was an absence or lack of focus. The business is loss-making, ineffective, weak business systems, poor governance, and elements of corruption, as we saw in our investigations. Today, the organization is in this orange phase. It's a phase of stabilization, focus, and reform, Chair. And here we're trying to stabilize the organization. We have started to exit onerous contracts, for example, the A400M opportunity, and also the contracts in Chad, Venezuela, and DRC. We are divesting non-core businesses. We are focusing our capabilities and portfolio. We are actively working with strategic equity partners. We are structuring the business for future sustainability, rebuilding reputation. We're building order stock. We're recovering the balance sheet, improving our commercial skills, strong focus on governance and performance improvement. So that's the current phase and focus in the organization. From here, Chair, honorable members, we want to go to the next phase that we call perform. It's about performance culture. In this phase, the performance culture is achieved. We have reskilled the organization. We talk about a competence shift. What that means for us is different types of skills in the organizations. So, I mean, traditionally we come from a conventional warfare product offering and portfolio, and I will talk a little bit later about some of the new areas that we want to venture into. We are a reputable, respected organization. We have a strong balance sheet. We are fit for purpose business systems, good governance. We have clean audits, recurring annuity income, and we are an exemplary company, Chair. From here, we want to go to what we call Perform Plus in the timeframe 24-25. We are a high-performing, modern, transformed portfolio. We have achieved a level of operational efficiency, sustainability. We are an employer of choice, so we attract young engineers. We have recurring annuity income. We are an exemplary company. We have advanced centers for engineering capabilities. We have spin-off technologies for other industries that goes beyond the traditional defense domain. And we are a responsible corporate citizen in terms of social and corporate investments, etc. The main conclusion for us, Chair, is the blue star on the side there, is that we need to speed up. We are out of time. We really need to accelerate our efforts in this regard. So the next one, please, William. Chair, on the next slide, and honourable committee members, this is about our new organizational structure and also our focus. I will not go into all the details, but broadly speaking, from the outside in the core, the dark blue part is the areas that we want to focus on, that we want to invest, and that we want to grow. So here we're talking about missiles and precision-guided munitions. Apologies for the acronym. Artillery systems, infantry systems, and then system integration capability. Then just on the next level, outside of that, is small and medium caliber munitions in PMP, and then of course large munitions in Rheinmetall Denel munitions. Also, the Overberg test range is one of the key capabilities for us going forward. The light blue on the outer part is where we're looking for strategic partnerships. Here we're looking for SCPs for aircraft and engine. MRO stands for maintenance repair operations. Maritime MRO, Royvalk helicopter for UAVs, for infantry weapons, mechatronics, and then also for armored vehicles. Then, Chair, honourable members, the red part, these are the businesses and areas in the business that we want to exit. So it's about the aerostructures business. We've already received approval on the Section 54 application. We are expediting that process, and that process will be concluded by the end of July in this year. And that strategic action or corporate action, Chair, will give us a saving of around 260 million on an annualized basis. PMP Foundry, here it's a make or buy decision for the business. So we, in the past, we tried to own the full value chain in PMP, from basically raw materials up to a finished product. And we want to focus the value chain, the parts that we do, on the areas where we can really add value, and we can buy in those components that is produced by the foundry today. Our property portfolio, Chair, today we utilize effectively around 50% of our facilities, and we're looking at how to optimize and how to use the facilities optimally going forward. Gear ratio is also a part of the Denel Vehicle Systems business, which is not core, and it's not key to any of our major programs. So we have no dependency on that. So we're also looking at divesting that. S3 is part of our command and control systems. So yeah, it's a bit of a question mark for the moment. We haven't finally decided how we move forward with that one. Mechem, Chair, is the traditional mine clearing business. So we've done contracts across Africa, Mozambique, Turkey, and also in former Eastern Europe or Eastern Germany and so on. So some action there in terms of mine lifting. We have the K9, the dark unit in that, and also the Casper trademark is in that business. So we also here we're thinking about exiting that business. Space Tech, Chair, we've been trying over the last year to transfer Space Tech to the Department of Science and Technology, and we could not achieve that up to now. In the meantime, this business is making a loss, and it's costing us around 5 million a month in operating cost. LMT is one of the smaller companies in the business. LMT Products, which is one of the subsidiaries in the business, is currently in business rescue, and we're also sort of looking at exiting that business. It's effectively a business with one program, one customer only, and not sustainable in the current structure. DENSecure, in the past we tried to do our own insurance, but we're also exiting this, Chair, and we will leave this up to the professionals, and we will do our insurance through a professional insurance company. And then lastly, Optronics. This is Hensoldt Optronics partnership, where we have 30% equity, and we also want to exit that business, and we have started that process. The next one, please, William. Chair, on this slide, we talk about the restructuring work streams. So it's a high-level summary of all the work streams that we have identified, the areas of improvement. We are actively working on all these work streams. If I just briefly look at them from left to right, the first one is to improve our debt situation. Like I mentioned before, we have the Denel medium-term note program, where we have a government guarantee of 3.4 billion. Against that guarantee, we take it to the financial markets on a note program, and we pay interest every quarter on that. I think we have around 3.5 years remaining on the government guarantee. Many of these, or most of these notes, are of a short-term nature. So it's typically every 12 months they mature, and then the investors decide if they extend it or not. So there's a need to improve on the debt structure and to restructure that to be more effective and supportive of our type of business. On the stakeholder engagement front, Chair, honourable members, here we have a lot of work to do in terms of improving stakeholder engagements with all the stakeholders, as you can see on the list. I'm not going to go through it all in detail. The future Denel focus on cost reductions, specifically on labour, overheads, organizational redesign. We're looking at the new operating structure and so on. And then, of course, very important is to find new revenue streams, Chair, in terms of new business. On projects, this is primarily about, as I already mentioned, program management improvements. It's about operational efficiency. It's about creating a performance culture in the organization. You can see the key KPIs on those and where we're focusing in terms of improvement. On the fifth one, on inventory, Chair, we are today sitting on a lot of inventory. Historically, a lot of things were bought in and procured in advance, and we need to move that inventory, of course, as soon as possible. And we're actively working on that to see how we can convert that inventory into cash as rapidly as possible. And then the last work stream, Chair, is related to our associate companies, our JVs, which are typically Rheinmetall, Denel, Munitions, where we have a 49% equity, and the same in Barish Dynamics in the UAE. And it's about revisiting the contractual arrangements, commercial arrangements, making sure we optimize the dividend policies, the memorandums of incorporation, and proper corporate structures and so on. So a lot of these we've already sort of fixed up and improved, but there's still a lot of work to be done in that regard. So the next one, please, William. So risk to future sustainability. Again, Chair, without going into the detail, some of this we've already covered. But one of our significant risks in the business is that if we don't succeed with the commercial renegotiation of Hoefyster, it will have a significant impact on the business in terms of the advance payments that will have to be paid back, and secondly also the guarantees we have on the program that we need to cancel then. So that is significant. Also, you can see there's quite an impact on the second line in terms of penalties for late deliveries. No secret, the program is quite significantly behind the schedule. Then the third one is high debt levels and debt servicing costs. I've already alluded to that under the medium-term note program. So we typically have around close to 300 million of interest cost every year in terms of our financing activities and funding activities. At the bottom, liquidity constraints is one of our major challenges, especially now in the short term. We believe and we are confident that we can get through this, but for the next 2 to 3 months, we're going to go through a significant challenge in terms of liquidity constraints. Next one, please, William. I think this is just more detail on the previous one, so I think we can skip on this one if you don't mind. The next one, William. All right, so Chair, a brief summary then on the key achievements to date, and this is taking a reflection since the appointment of the board in 2018. So the first is that we have achieved cumulative savings in excess of 1 billion since April 2018. The main contributors to that is reduction in employment cost over time, but also quite some savings in terms of saving on other operating costs, travel costs, marketing costs, and so on. The exit of the aerostructures business, as I already mentioned, will have an annualized benefit of around 260 million from end of June going forward. The exit of loss-making and onerous contracts, Venezuela, DRC, and Chad. Here, the full liability is around 200 million, and around 1/3 of that we've already paid back. But we have made payment plans and exit agreements with all those customers. On the positive note, those customers are now open to business again, and they've invited us to talk about new opportunities. Also, the closure of LMT, exit of that business, will have an annualized benefit of around 48 million in a year, so around 4 million a month, the cost that we traditionally used to support that business with. Good progress have been made with the production baseline on Hoefyster section variant, as I already mentioned, and we are in discussions with the Arms Corps technical team to align on technical status and on the way forward. Chair, we have significant future business potential in the order pipeline. There's a slide coming on that, but just the top 10 opportunities represent a value of around 30 billion. But of course, in addition to that, we have many smaller, medium-sized opportunities as well. So the challenge in Denel is not an absence of business. We have a strong order backlog, around 14 billion, and we have significant future opportunities. Of course, there's some critical success factors that make it possible to achieve that and to land those orders or not. But I'm quite confident that we will succeed in terms of the order intake. The Hensel transaction, I mentioned that already. It is unfortunately delayed because of COVID-19. What happened is the American shareholders put all their corporate actions on hold because they wanted to preserve cash, but they have since informed us last week that we can now again proceed with the transaction. So they've taken away the hold or the block on the program. In terms of creditors, we have, Chair and Honourable Committee members, over the last year, we have significantly reduced the overdue creditors. In August last year, we were sitting on 1.1 billion. We paid around 80% of that, and we continue to pay as we generate cash through our operations. But also some of these are behind. I think we have around 288 million currently that is older than 120 days. We've made good progress, as you can also see. The Fitch rating agency that do our annual ratings have improved our rating, but of course we are very closely linked to the government rating, and when that was downgraded, we were also downgraded with that. I mean, they make a direct link about the shareholders' capacity and capability to support Denel in tough economic times. But I mean, in principle, they're quite happy with the turnaround strategy, with the approach we're following, and as a consequence, they gave us a positive vote of confidence when they did the last review. The next one, please, William. So, Chair, honourable members, this is just a brief list of new revenue streams and technologies. So, by means of introduction for this slide, Denel, traditionally, we come from a sort of a portfolio product offering of conventional warfare solutions. So we have missiles, we have artillery solutions. As you know, we can produce vehicles, we can manufacture, and we can support aircraft. But most international defense companies nowadays, they evolve, they transform, and they develop new technology areas. And some of these that we are interested in, and we have started some work on this, is digital solutions for national security. So it's in a broader context. It's more about homeland security as opposed to just conventional warfare solutions. It's about advanced command and control solutions, decision support systems, border management systems, border control surveillance systems. And the difference is, so we use the same definition, Chair. Border management is typically when somebody arrives at the airport, the system that look at your passport and so on. And of course, border control is physical control on the physical borders of the country. Maritime surveillance systems. There are lots of modern technology how you can do this in terms of drones, etc. Consolidated local aerospace MRO capability. We believe there's an opportunity to consolidate the MRO capability and capacity for the country. Then data fusion, voice recognition, language recognition, all of these things, they are very advanced software nowadays where you can identify threats by utilizing this sort of systems. Law enforcement, asymmetrical warfare solutions. So I think the nature of war has changed a lot. As we can see in Europe, when they had those bomb attacks, the bomb that was sort of exploded at the Boston Marathon and so on, it's more terrorism. It's more people that live amongst us with some objectives. Cybersecurity, cyber attack is the main area of development. We have some element of cybersecurity, very basic software, but we want to grow and invest in that. Weaponized UAVs or advanced UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles. Drone detection is a big area of focus for many defense companies, is to identify drones, to detect them early enough. I think it's both from a privacy perspective, but also from a threat perspective. I mean, effectively, these large drones can carry quite significant payloads, and any sort of weapon or chemical or biological attack can actually be done by drones, and it has been simulated in the rest of the world. Spin-off technologies into non-defense related businesses. Chair and committee members, example here is the medical ventilators that we're currently looking at, and some areas where we can add benefits. We are working also closely with the other SOCs and the research institutes. We have some projects with CSIR now that we have reinitiated. We are looking at doing asset surveillance for PRASA and for Transnet. So using drones, for example, to do asset inspection surveillance activities, and we have received some orders on that already. In principle, the modern approach is about the control and monitoring of flows, and the flows include flows of people, of money, assets, and information. That's pretty much the modern approach to homeland security. And then, of course, also all sorts of sensor systems for biochemical and nuclear detection, Chair. So these are areas of interest where we believe Denel can make a difference, and where we can successfully secure new revenue streams. On the next slide, this is just what I mentioned a few slides back. This is the top 10 opportunities, 5-year window. We're just indicating in which division of Denel it is, and what the product is of interest. I've taken away the countries for security and confidentiality reasons. Probability of success, the gross margins, and the timing of these orders. But I think the conclusion is there are significant opportunities, significant pipeline for Denel to succeed. The next one, please, William. And then lastly, Chair, honourable members, we often get a question about the utilization of the 1.8 billion recapitalisation that Denel received on the 31st of August last year. So we just thought we want to comment on that as well. So if we go down the green part, so the bulk of that money we used to restart operations. We were focusing on operations that could generate a quick turnaround in terms of cash. So most of that money we put into MRO type of operations, where you service aircraft or vehicles or deliver, and you generate the cash within 30 or 45 days. And you can see we've generated 2.2 billion with that investment. 1.2 roughly went into employment costs, and just over 1 in reinvestment in operations and creditors. On the left-hand side, when we received the recap, we also had to make sure that we are tax compliant with SARS. So we had to pay overdue taxes of 225. Then, Chair, honourable members, we also use some of that funds in terms of funding the exit of the Airbus A400M program, and also some of the advance payments we had to pay back and so on, of course, came from the funding. On the right-hand side, we also had to pay interest and loans. I've briefly explained the interest cost on the medium-term note program. So that's a big chunk of the money went into that. There were some legacy cost issues, and also around 24 million we spent on our investigations as part of our governance enhancements and improvements. So, Chair, that's my introduction, my presentation. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, CEO. Over to you, the select chair. Honorable Martin.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. We will follow the same procedure that we do when we are dealing with inputs and questions from members. I will start with Honorable Gumede, Honorable Kachalia, Honorable Mautwe, Honorable Malinga, Honorable Bibi, Honorable Arnolds, Honorable Klute, and Honorable Ngwenya. Honorable Gumede, you can start.
Hello, Chair. Chair?
Yeah, we can hear you. You can start.
You can see me as well.
I can see you. I can see you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for the presentation. It looks very much promising. There is only one